My name's Shader and I'm 17 years old. I've had 9 fights and
My name is Dennis Stinchcombe, MBE. I've been the leader in charge of Broadplain, what was the boys club, is now youth club, for about 43 years. And part of that 40 of the years has been to do with boxing. And through the day, I run the full-day centre, which is an alternative learning provision. So we work 7 days a week almost, but doing boxing and education and working with all sorts of groups of people. The club's been going since 1894, so we're probably one of the oldest youth clubs, if you like, in existence, certainly in the southwest, and probably even further up towards London. I think we're 125 years old at the moment, so that tells you there's been a lot of young people and even older people through this club. It started off as a community-based club, and it was all sorts of things, from swimming to cycling to church to you name it, they did it, welfare. And it's all come down to the fact that we're still doing all those things now, except if I've got somebody that's good at cycling, I send them off to a cycling club. Somebody good at weights, I send them to a weights club. But boxing is what we do best. And working with young people, our ethos, or our motto actually, is service not self. It always has been, and it's always going to be that way. And I think we teach the young people that, which means that, you know, they know that to get a bit, you've got to give a bit. And that's where we're at. We're situated basically, and we have been since 1985, here in the middle of Easton and St Paul's. Two quite notorious areas in Bristol with regard to poverty, crime, a transient community of all nationalities, so we're incredibly multiracial. But looking at all those things, the way we see it is, once you come through the doors, once a Broadplainer, always a Broadplainer, and everybody is welcome. Nobody is turned away, regardless of where they come from. So, interestingly, Parkinson's, as a boxing coach, first and foremost, and going back a few years ago, when this lady came to me, Dawn, and said, "Oh, Dennis, you remember you used to work with some of my troubled lads and you sorted them out with your boxing. Would you work with another group for me?" I of course said, "Yes, why wouldn't I? It's what we do." And you know, if I can use boxing to assist and support and develop anybody, we're going to do it. And then she said, "Yes, well, we've all got Parkinson's." Well, straight away, I have to tell you, it was like, whoa, no way. You've got to be kidding me, because, you know, I mean, Muhammad Ali, the greatest, ended up with Parkinson's. How could I ever do that in our boxing world? It would never pass. Interestingly enough, she said, "Well, I've just come back from a conference in America, or the USA, call it what you will, and it's rife over there called Rocksteady. And in fact, they've got classes where thousands of Parkinson's people are doing boxing, and they're finding it is one of the best things they've ever done. But when it got to England, for some reason, it was stopped. Probably much the same as the reason I had, which was, whoa, I don't think so. It's not what we do." Interestingly enough, I said, "You know what then? Let's give it a go." I never turned down a challenge, and here we are 3.5 years later with one incredible boxing setup for people with Parkinson's. Wow, it's so good. When this came about, I had to sell this to the England setup, because I can honestly believe how good it is and what I've seen the development in these people. And so I worked very closely with Ron Tully, the development manager for EB, and a couple of other colleagues, and we set up a program. But when I set the program up, I set it up with the Parkinson's people, my boxers. It's about them, it's for them, so therefore it should be designed by them. They know all about Parkinson's, I haven't got it. So I know absolutely nothing about it apart from what I've learned, quite a lot I might add, over the last 3 years. And so they helped me develop a program which explains all about Parkinson's and how it affects them, and how Parkinson's affects their abilities, their movement, and so on. But also how fitness and exercise assists and develops them, so that Parkinson's gets waylaid a little bit. It's never going to cure it, but by God, it certainly changes them when they do the boxing. And just to finish that, is that it is about them, and so it isn't about teaching coaches to coach boxing, they already know how to do that. It's teaching coaches to coach people with Parkinson's.
I'm Jim Hill. I've been at the club for about 40 years when it first started. I used to box as an amateur myself for a long time, since I was 11. I took all my coaching courses over the years now. I'm a level 4 coach. I've had six or seven national champions, and I've always been into boxing. I've always trained the boys. I've always been there twice a week or 3 times a week, and that's how I've introduced myself. I love boxing.
I'm Callum O'Connell, and I've been involved with the club for, well, since I was 8 years old. Boxed all the way through up until I was about 22, and yeah, I've just been coaching ever since, and I now actually work here full time as a youth engagement worker and a tutor.
Yeah, I've changed a lot of things in the Parkinson's because they all got their levels. Some have got bad balance. Some of them sometimes they can't understand you and things like that. But each one of them they have their limits, like you say, and we train them to that. We can go to good levels with them sometimes, especially fitness as well. And a lot of the guys have never skipped before, but a lot of them, at least 3/4 of them, are skipping, and they're walking better. So really, it's a big buzz for me as well, because I'm suffering with cancer the last 5-6 years. I ended up with lung cancer. I've only got one lung. A few weeks ago, before Christmas, I ended up with bladder cancer. So really, they're suffering and I'm suffering, but we're fighting it. We're fighting our disabilities.
I think just generally encouraging them more, and you do change the way you talk when you're coaching. Not so harsh, just constantly giving them encouragement just to help them bring confidence back. And yeah, just slowing it down, breaking it down, and yeah, just doing it that way.
Well, developments of some people. I mean, we have some what couldn't skip and they can skip. The balance is much better, and I've had a woman come up to me and say her husband he goes shopping now with her, and the walking is much better. So really, if I can get a plus out of that, I reckon it's marvellous. I reckon it's a good thing what we're doing. It's balanced. A lot of them ain't got balance. You put the balance there and they give them a bit of confidence. You know, if they can walk around properly, it's lovely.
Yeah, they leave. They look so happy when they leave. And they're more calm. You can tell they definitely get a lot out of the sessions. And they're all enjoying it. I don't think I've spoke to one of them that doesn't enjoy the sessions. They love coming, and yeah, it's just nice to see.
So my name's Dawn May. I started coming in 2016, which is 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago.
My name is Nick Mortensen. I've been coming to the club since the beginning, so just over 4 years now.
Kevin Meredith, 18 months.
Mark Sutherland. I've been coming to the gym roughly 2 years.
My name is Kathleen, and I've been attending this club since it was set up for Parkinson's somewhere between 3 and 4 years ago.
Well, I've been to the World Parkinson's Congress in America, my first big sort of outside of England trip to acknowledge that I did have Parkinson's and that I was going to do something about it. And one of the people who was there is a guy called Brian Grant, and he was demonstrating boxing for people with Parkinson's. And I'd never boxed before, and I didn't. All my feelings about boxing were sort of quite negative, but the way that people were exercising and demonstrating it, there was so much enthusiasm and so much energy that I thought when I came back, I know this very nice man, Dennis Stinchcombe, from Bristol, who I used to work with in my career, and I roped in Nick Mortensen, who is another guy I exercise with, and together we approached Dennis. We sorted out a whole rigmarole of questions we were going to ask him, but actually I just said, how would you feel about working with people with Parkinson's? And he thought for about 5 seconds and said, why not? So I think he was always willing to take a risk with us, and it's just grown since then. We've got about 20 people now. It was about half a dozen to start with, and it's taken off. Some of the people who come don't come to anything else, they just come to the boxing. So it's well done to him.
It really is a spit and sawdust type boxing environment. It's the archetypal gym. It's got everything going for it, including a great coach. But it's the friendly approach that everyone has being part of the team. Really good.
It's given me a sense of independence, something to come for, something to look forward to on a Friday morning. I used to go to the gym on a regular basis before I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, but I lost all confidence because I couldn't keep hold of the free weights and I was dropping weights. So I stopped doing any gym work or anything really training wise until I started coming here, which was about 4.5 years.
Well, it's the confidence I get down there. It gives you so much confidence. There's lack of confidence in yourself. When I come here, I feel like I'm doing something. I've been sat at home doing nothing.
Well, we first came because we knew other people were coming, people who we knew, and it provides a social gathering, it provides exercise. And although I don't have Parkinson's, I come along with my husband, and it's really good exercise for him. It stretches you physically and mentally. And I find it's a very good way of keeping fit myself. You do things to your ability. If you can't work out a lot, then you do the best you can. If you're quite fit, then you go that bit further. When I first started, I hadn't skipped for 50 years, but now I can skip up to 100 without stopping on a good day.
The boxing has certainly helped me physically. I'm a lot fitter than I used to be, and probably quite a bit stronger too. It's a good outlet for those frustrations you get with Parkinson's, so it's good fun as well. Socially it's great. The people who come as a team, we're all in it together. It's just a real good session of camaraderie, really good.
It gives you a sense of confidence back, it gives you a sense of belonging, because once you finish work you lose a big circle that you're used to dealing with and people you talk to. You meet new people and it's like starting again and building your confidence up from scratch again. And it's actually, we don't look at each other as Parkinson's boxers. People from outside will look at us and say, oh, there are a bunch of people with Parkinson's mucking about in a boxing ring. We just look at people who are boxing because we're being trained by boxing trainers.
I was working for me. I was falling 2 or 3 times a week. I haven't fallen for the 2 years I've been coming down here. The only time I did fall was when we had 3 weeks off and I fell 3 times in the 3 weeks.
Well, I suppose socially, we have made many friends through the varying groups that we belong to. We have, the college in Bristol does a lunch and we tend to go out as a group 3 or 4 times a year and have Christmas dinner and things like that. So it branches off into other exercises, and of course we try and support the club, anything that they have. If they have boxing matches, we have been to watch one.
Boxing is for anybody. We have a great set of coaches here who really do push us on, so make the most of what we can do. As a club, it's something we feel ownership for. It's really good.
I come out of here and I want to take on Mike Tyson. Well, perhaps not, because he bites you, doesn't he? But you really get the feeling that if you walked out into the car park and somebody was breaking into your car, you'd be quite happy to deal with it. And it gives you that sense of normality again, of being able to carry out normal actions.
It's the confidence it gives you. Dennis and his crew are great, always praising you up. It makes you feel good.
The best thing is when you get home, you feel you've had a really good workout. You've exercised bits that perhaps you wouldn't normally exercise. It's good for your breathing. It's good for your mental health. And you can sit down at the end and have a cup of coffee and a biscuit, and then you can go home and you can sit down in the afternoon and feel you deserve it.
We've actually got quite tribal about this boxing session because there's a lot of people want to take it on, and we were the first. Dennis and Jim led the whole thing, and we really wanted them to get the credit. So we've come up with the Broadplain Wobbly Boxing Club, and that way, wherever it goes, we've got our stamp on it as being the first to do it. And we sort of set the trend for everybody else, and it's thanks to Dennis and Jim and Callum that we can do that, because it's given us a sense of direction as a group.
Well, I do enjoy it very much, and when people say to us, well, what exercises do you do? And we say, we go boxing, and they've raised eyebrows. They think that people of our age should be sat at home with, watching the telly. But no, we enjoy it. And over the period, I have seen people come in who've got serious limps or who fall over. But after a few weeks, they have the confidence to run around. It doesn't last, but for the period of time they're here, they feel almost normal, and I think that's wonderful.
I just love coming an hour. It's supposed to just be an hour, but we all turn up half an hour early and we leave half an hour after. There's a group of us who do exercise together as well as the boxing. So we do Nordic walking, some of us do Irish set dancing, some of us do yoga, and something called PD Warrior, where you're actually exerting yourself, because there's quite a lot of evidence that sustained and intense exercise is really good for Parkinson's. So socially, we get on really well. Dennis provides us with a meeting space where we have tea and coffee and chat. I get a lot out of the social side of this. Just you relax to start with, and then they work you pretty intensely. Dennis and Callum, you do, as well as the skipping, which a lot of the blokes found really hard to start with, but now they've actually watched how to skip. And coordinating hands and feet is quite difficult for people with Parkinson's, but most of us are there now. Physically, I love the interaction. When you're in a gym, you're often just doing your exercises on your own. You're in a group, but you're on your own, whereas here, you're always facing somebody. It's two of you, and if you look at the people's faces, there are more smiles there than there are in a gym. In a gym, people are intensely exercising, but here, when you've got your fists all ready and you're facing someone, it's just brilliant. Well, we are the only club that works with older people in the group. It's the only place, it was the first place in the country to embrace people with Parkinson's. Obviously the founder member, Dennis, is so passionate about what he does. He's brought in a younger person, Callum and Jim, who help train us. So they take groups of us off into the ring, and so everybody feels that they get a chance to box and to exercise at their own as intensely as you can. Some people are more affected by the Parkinson's than others, but they always adapt what they expect you to do. They push you, but don't push you too hard. I suppose takeaway, I'm actually quite proud of having brought this to Bristol, and that it's still running, and that so many people get so much pleasure out of it. It's also, when you say, oh, I do boxing, whether or not I have Parkinson's, as an older woman, I'm 67, and a lot of my friends say boxing, so that gives me a lot of pride to do it, and to have sustained it for this long, and that it's spread now across the UK, boxing for Parkinson's.
So far we've got about 15 clubs working around the country already, because we've had our first sort of coach session, and it's working fabulously, to a point where those coaches that have taken it on actually cannot believe how powerful this is and how excellent it is for the people with Parkinson's. They're seeing these changes, which is a complete and utter wow factor. They're watching people shuffle into their gym from the ages of 40 up through to 80, 86, 87, which is I think is my oldest. They shuffle in, all curled up, knowing that Parkinson's is taking them down, and guess what? They're running out of the gym, they're running around the gym, they're punching the bags, they're punching pads, they're going out exhilarated, actually getting their lives back. And any one of these people will tell you, I've got my life back and I am now actually a boxer. I love what I do. And if that's all I'm doing for these people, then I've got to tell every coach out there, if you've got the time and the commitment, there is a branch of Parkinson's in your area somewhere where they meet up and do activities for Parkinson's people. I can get you involved and linked up, and by God, it's an amazing, amazing step for all of us in amateur boxing.